Now, two guys that are in the 30s here intrigue me. So Brett Bielema, to me, is the highest ranked coach who's at a program where he may have zero chance of doing anything substantial.
I mean, he might be fired at the end of the year. Right. Yes. Yeah.
PJ Fleck. Now, what is your take on PJ? Because he's got his detractors, and I love the guy. I love the guy. I got to say it.
I think PJ Fleck is what would happen if a Pentecostal youth minister became a college football coach. That's what I think. All right. And so if that you like the cut of that jib, he's your thing. If not, he is not your thing. Okay. So that's why opinions, even though he's a pretty nice guy, that's why opinions tend to be pretty polarizing, because the persona is the kind of thing that you either adore or you do not. But his players do play hard for him. They play a tough physical brand of football. He has rebuilt the program after, they had the whole scandal with the rape allegations and everything else under Tracy Claeys that threatened to ruin that program. So, but last year they were just physically overmatched at times.
Yeah.
And now the league is tougher. I think what'll be fascinating to see is what happens really to all these old Big Ten West programs now, with no divisions, and 8-4 seasons could, maybe 9-3 seasons could land you in Indy and get you a trophy. And now, see you at the, whatever bowl, it'll be interesting. My theory is there'll be one more round of expansion for the next TV contract. And I think you'll see the Big Ten go back to divisions, actually. I think you'll have a 20-team league. You'll have 2 10-team divisions. That's what I think will happen.
Northwestern and Minnesota, probably Illinois right there, have the lowest win totals in Vegas right now. Minnesota's been winning under PJ Fleck. I was going to note his bowl record, as you well know, is 6-0. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to necessarily say that he's been playing in, BCS level games. He's been winning the games against the likes of Syracuse and Georgia Tech in the postseason, but still undefeated postseason record. Northwestern, correct me if I'm wrong, has one of the highest returning production rates in the country.
Yeah, especially on defense. Yes. Yeah.
And no one's giving them any credit for coming back and trying to repeat a similar season to what they did last year.
It's a very interesting situation with them. Who knows what kind of home field advantage they will have. They're playing at this makeshift stadium and then Wrigley Field. They lost their starting quarterback to the portal. A lot of things went right for them, but not like they won a whole bunch of lucky games kind of way. I mean, went right for them from an intangibles leadership standpoint. What David Braun and those seniors did to keep that team together, like I said earlier, it might be the best Big Ten single season coaching job I have ever seen. Okay. I mean, we're talking about a team that had a win total of 3.5 when the season kicked off. But now there's film on you, and now expectations are higher. And back to PJ Fleck, I think expectations are going to be the key for him in that administration moving forward. If he's got a Kentucky-like administration where they understand who they are, they're self-aware, okay, and they're fine with Mark Stoops being 7-5, 8-4 every year because they get where they are, and they're not going to try to go for the brass ring and then maybe make a wrong hire and go back to being 3-9. I mean, he could go 7-5 and 8-4 there, for the next 20 years if he wants to. But that's a question for the fan base and the administration. It's an easier call at Kentucky because, they've usually got a top 10 or at least a perceived top 10 basketball program to look forward to in the winter. And so football is kind of considered to be the warm-up act, if you will. But, they don't have that at Minnesota either, And so I just think all of them, Wisconsin, Iowa, that have been the two biggest, behemoths in the West Division over the last 20 years. I think every West program is due for very soon here, kind of a checkup on. Do you understand the situation that you are now in here?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And let's stay right there. Kirk Ferentz at Iowa. I'm a bit perplexed by this number. The win total out of Vegas is 7. It was 7 last year.
Well, now I've not done my win totals yet because I've not finished with my power rating, so I've not even looked at many win totals. Okay, so I'm hearing some of these for the first time on purpose. I've avoided them because I don't want it to influence my power ratings at all. I want
Okay.
the power ratings to influence my thought on the win totals, not the win totals to influence my power ratings. See what
Okay. I'm not going to nail you down to a
Yeah,
record,
but
but
let me
just
say
talking
this:
about
what you're what
his
you're
program and what they've got
what you're
is
telling me is like for the fourth year in a row, Iowa over the win total is going to be one of my win total best bets. That's what you're telling
is basically,
me. Yeah,
if you look at
but
and we did,
but Mark, they're 7.5, 8 every single year. Doesn't matter what they bring back. That's their win total every year.
they are an outlier in the Big Ten when it comes to this. As soon as those schedules were released, I did the addition and subtraction of saying, basically, this is what you're looking at, Illinois. This is your previous schedule. This is what it now means to lose Purdue and Northwestern, or, well, of course, not Northwestern, Purdue and Nebraska off your schedule and gain Oregon and USC or whatever. We did the difference in what this is going to mean for these teams. Iowa doesn't have to face that, though, this year. They've got Washington and they've got UCLA, and they play Iowa State at home. Their Big Ten East, what was the old Big Ten East, is only Ohio State and 2 should-be wins. So they don't have a typically tougher Big Ten schedule, and they're sitting on the 7 number, according to Vegas.
Yeah. All you just told me is there'll be another one of my, for the fourth year in a row, Iowa over the win total will be one of my win total best bets. That's all you told me. Yep.
Steve Deace, Michigan Podcast. Of course, get on over there, check out Michigan Podcast and the Bigger 10 Podcast, which will rev up here, I'm sure. Well, I'll ask the man himself. What are the plans for both the Michigan Podcast and Bigger 10?
So we haven't announced it yet, but the next season of Michigan Podcast will actually debut next Tuesday. Bigger 10 will debut the following Wednesday. They will stagger back and forth, and they'll begin being weekly with Big Ten football media days.
Awesome. All right, back to Sherrone Moore. He hasn't gotten punched in the mouth. We haven't seen them play a game under his leadership, albeit, of course, Jim Harbaugh leading the team as the head coach. Are you getting positive inclinations, vibes about the way he's leading this program? And again, the rubber hasn't met the road yet, but Sherrone Moore as a long-term success at Michigan?
The long term, I'm not sure of, because it's in the short term, I think he'll do fine. He's essentially been Jim Harbaugh's Padawan. He has coached every conceivable aspect of this program, just about, in terms of his path to the head coaching position. I mean, he started as a tight ends coach, and you know that's the Little League right field of full-time coaching jobs. That's where you put the guy that you're not sure if he's any good or not. Okay, and you're going to make that guy, do the most, be on the road the most, recruiting. All right, that's the dirt road. Okay, and he started there. He took over as I'd never been an offensive line coach before, Mark, and won the next 2 Joe Moore Awards back to back. Then he takes over as the offensive coordinator, wins the national championship. I think it's almost tougher, frankly, to have another guy prepare your team all week long and then have you go out there and lead that exact team on game day and make those decisions, because you're asking yourself, are these my decisions? Am I impersonating him? Am I my own man? Whom should I listen to? And the way he navigated all of those situations was superb. I mean, against Ohio State, look at what Urban Meyer said in the Big Ten Network. He's never heard of a guy being the offensive line coach, the offensive coordinator, and the head coach of the team on the same day. And that is exactly what Sherrone Moore did against Ohio State last year. And the results speak for themselves. So I'm not concerned about the short term. They did a great job using NIL for roster retention. We had a team coming back that has as many as 4 first-team All-Americans on it. So the structure is there. I told you after the spring, the depth is better than I had hoped. That I think that the 20 and 21 kids now, or the 22 and 23 kids are ready to be that next layer of depth when most of them haven't played much yet. He doesn't have a JJ McCarthy. So I think that's an issue. Does he even have a quarterback is an issue, but we're still going to be among the top 2 or 3 best programs in the country along the line of scrimmage. Again, if you combine both sides, I don't know that the schedule's not tougher. It's different. I mean, if if we had played Penn State in September, no one would have said what a cushy schedule Michigan had. It's just that all those games were all backloaded. Okay. And so, you're playing Penn State on the road. You have a sandwich game with a perennial bowl team. You're then playing Ohio State. You're then playing a Big Ten championship game. That's a little bit like if you're playing Ohio State, Oregon. Well, actually, Ohio State, Oregon, and Texas is tougher because they're both top 4 this year. But those games are now more spread out. There's actually kind of a rhythm to Michigan's schedule. Fresno State, then Texas. Arkansas State, then USC. You see what I'm saying? So you're not facing the kind of gauntlet down the stretch that last year's team did. So here's the biggest advantage Sharon Moore has: the expanded playoff. If they go 9-3 with this schedule, they're making the playoff. Okay, 9-3. We went 9-3 under Jim Harbaugh a ton, and it seemed like the sky was falling. That's the whole complexion of this is now different, if you know what I'm saying. And so that's, I think, the biggest advantage that he has. We could have the kind of loss that Alabama had last year when it also didn't know yet who its quarterback was, and if Jalen Milroe was going to be that guy, and lost at home to Texas early on and then rebounded the rest of the year. It's very conceivable that I could see that happening at Michigan as well. But we're still strong where we want to play the most. That's the key. The kind of style we want to play, that's where we're actually the strongest. But we're playing more teams this year where now Texas lost basically its entire defensive line. Okay. So let me tell you, I don't know who the quarterback's going to be against Texas. Let me tell you what the game plan is going to be. Unless we're like -3 in turnovers and down 21-0, Mark, we're running the ball 52 damn times. That's what's going to happen. Okay. And we're going to make Texas stand there in 95-degree heat and show they can stand up at the line of scrimmage for 70 snaps. We got the players to do that. It may not work. We'll see. I'd be more concerned if we were strong in air. Like at Michigan, everybody, well, who are your wide receivers? It's Michigan. Who the hell cares? All right. No, we barely throw to those guys. Okay. That doesn't matter. Okay. Frankly, we're more concerned about the wide receiver blocking, frankly. Okay. And that's not even a joke. It's true. Okay. So, but when you are playing those kinds of games, who's the guy that can make 3rd and 8 consistently a conversion? JJ McCarthy could do that. And I don't know that we have that guy right now.
Well, I believe
that's really the difference probably between going 11-1 and 9-3, 8-4 is that right there.
And I believe I made this statement on your show that if the spring game was any indication to what these quarterbacks are on a regular basis, then it's more about selecting what kind of offense you want to run and who you want to be than it is the caliber of play or the ultimate production. It's just going to come more on the ground, of course, with Orji. On the other hand,
if you put a gun to my head, I think you're looking at some form of a Jack Tuttle, Alex Orji tandem, at least early on.
And speaking of the schedule, the 9-3, I generally agree with, gets Michigan a playoff berth unless it looks a certain way. Meaning, if they get tagged with the 3 assumed losses and there's nobody to step up like a USC to look like a good win, that could be an issue. Or if they get blown out somewhere, which they shouldn't. I don't think they're built that way. I don't think they will get blown out by anyone. That could be an issue in trying to squeeze into the playoffs. Yeah,
it could be. But we could also say that about 10 other teams. So
absolutely.
And that's where it gets into kind of subjectives. You're right at that point.
And we reviewed about 10 other teams that are at the mid to lower tiers of the Big Ten. And all this media money is going to be coming in. Now, the Big Ten has been right there with the SEC in regards to a media contract, even before the new one kicks in. Do you expect in any way that a Indiana, Rutgers, Minnesota, we know the schools in question, are ever going to get serious about football and take the money that they're making more than Clemson or Florida State or some perennial football powers and put that to good use?
So Indiana, I would argue, kind of has. I mean, the buyout they gave Tom Allen, man, is legit. I mean, that's a double-figure, multi-million-dollar buyout. Kurt Signetti, I think, was a very good hire. The problem is this is a zero-sum game. All right, there are only so many good players, and so things that you could have done in the past, like Indiana wanted to decides we're just going to go full bag, man. and we'll just see if the NCAA busts us in 5 years. Okay, like Mike White did that at Illinois in the '80s. That's what happened. And Bo Schembechler's who turned him into the NCAA. Okay, but that's what Mike White did at Illinois in the '80s. He went full bag man. And and here's a tidbit. Name the last Big Ten champion to win the Big Ten by beating all the other Big Ten teams. It was Illinois in 1983. The Big Ten was playing a true round robin, only had only had 9 conference games. Okay, for 2 years. They tried this in the '80s. They got rid of it. And Illinois went 9-0 one year.
Now, if you would have given me 30 seconds, Steve, I might have come up with that.
You might have, yeah. But
8-1, they lost to Missouri that year. They were, I believe, 10-1 before they went off to the Rose Bowl.
But that strategy won't work anymore, because this is the last year we're not going to have some form of revenue sharing going directly to the players in the millions. So there's no bags. My point is, what is the outlier that even if they invest, what is the outlier that a Rutgers or Indiana has that would cause a critical mass of players to go there as opposed to Michigan, Ohio State, USC? See what I'm saying? Okay, Penn State. There isn't one. I don't know what they could possibly create. And, I think we had these conversations last year when Oregon and Washington were brought in. Just to get to the Big Ten championship game, you need Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, Nebraska. Now, these are 4 of the 8 winningest programs, in USC. So 5 of the 8 winningest programs of all time. Okay, you need those 5. UCLA, all right, which is a top 20 winningest program of all time, or Washington and Oregon, which have played 4 and won national championships. All right, so you need those. What is that? 9 schools or 8 or 9? Yep. You need 7 of those 8. You need to be better than 7 of those 8 schools in any given year. To win the Big Ten, you probably need to be better than you need to be better than all 8 of those schools in any given year. How many times in the entire history of Wisconsin football, and I'll start with them, because they've been maybe beyond, after Michigan and Ohio State, and in some years they've been above Michigan in that group, the best program in this league for the last, 30 years. How many of those years, peak Wisconsin, would be better than all 8 of the programs I just mentioned, Mark?
It would be difficult to judge, because even when their record showed that they might
they didn't
have the schedule.
Correct.
Yeah.
They were playing Purdue and Illinois. Correct. Right. So maybe once. How many times has Iowa been better than all 8 of those teams at the same time? Same thing, playing the easier schedule. This is what you're looking at to win these kinds of leagues now. And so I don't even know that it matters if they invest. I don't. If anything, I think there might be more incentive to go full pre-Joe Burrow Cincinnati Bengal and just be like the ownership that just pockets the money and just goes cheap on the franchise. Just enjoy the money and take your L, because I don't believe I will see I'm 50 now. I don't believe I'll see a traditional Big Ten West team win a Big Ten championship in my life, the rest of my lifetime. I don't. Wisconsin included.
I would tend to agree. And I think that we've got half of the Power 5 that plays like that anyway. They don't want to be embarrassed. They want to get to a bowl game because it looks good and because they can make a little bit more money and just collect their media check and be good to go. But those days might be over.
There is way more talent. What's happened with the camps and everything else, the talent is way more spread out, way more democratized. You also only need a few difference makers, frankly. You're only playing 5 guys at a time. In this sport, you're playing 22 guys at a time. You need more than a few difference makers. So I just don't know what their path moving forward is. I don't. And as long if the networks are like, and ultimately, I think what will keep these leagues together or not is if the networks say, we're not paying for Michigan and Indiana anymore. We're not paying for Ohio State to play Northwestern or Wrigley Field anymore. You want to put those games on, fine, but we'll put them on for you, but we don't have a rights fee for that. We just want to play the big games, because then you're going to get into, well, if now the best teams in the leagues are playing the toughest schedules because those are the games the networks want, then we want even more of the revenue then, because we're accruing more of the risk. You see what I'm saying? Our players are getting injured more. We're accruing more of the risk. Michigan going 8-4 with this schedule ain't the same as, what you mentioned with Iowa going 10-2 with that schedule. Okay. You see what I'm saying? So those are all things that'll be figured out down the line. But I don't know what the path forward is to winning a Big Ten championship for a traditional Big Ten West team ever again. I really don't. And frankly, the Big Ten West never won the Big Ten championship game anyway. So I don't know what the path forward going for them. I didn't even include programs like Michigan State that have shown they can be great at given times. I didn't even throw them into the mix. That would kind of be your ninth team. I guess you could say that's the ninth one. All right. So if you Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois, all those teams, you'd have to be just to get to Indy. You'd have to be better than 8 of those 9 teams, and then to win it, you got to be better than all 9 of those teams in any given year. There's no way all 9 of those teams are down in the same year. There's no way 8 of them are down in the same year.
Well, back to your point about revenue distribution, I've been saying this for months. What I believe we'll finally get to is some type of revenue split where each league, and we'll just take the Big Ten, is honoring the membership equally for maybe, let's say, 50% of the revenue, but the other 50%, if Ohio State or Michigan has to pay a roster $22 million, the same as Indiana,
right,
and they're fighting over the same players, they say, hey, we're making the money.
Yep. I mean, that's just capitalism. That's exactly right. That you just described a meritocracy at that point. Yep. That's a good point.